till 10:15.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're gonna make it happen.
Let's do it.
Skull Media, everybody. Man in White. We have special guest Lizzy Jane. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great. We're here in Chicago, part of the Unity Tour with Midas. This is the first night that we're doing the back-to-back with Crystal Skies. So that's like a sonic recipe for like a crazy set. So
How long has that
I'm
been
so
in the
excited.
works?
Like 4 or 5 months. So I'm very excited. When we got the offer, we had sent music back and forth a few times, and I met half of them once because they are a duo, and one of them lives in Denver, and then the other one lives here in the Midwest somewhere. And when we started to put together our sections for the set, it was like so cool how we sonically just like matched up like right away, like just from points of like my sets having this like dynamic energy of it going really like heavy or like really drum bass to like then very melodic and pretty and singing, and then going up and down. Like they do the same thing, so like it was very cool. I'm very excited because when we put together all of our sections in Ableton like earlier this week, I was like, whoa, this is actually incredibly easy and flows so well.
Wow. So the other half sent it all the way from Denver
Yes.
up here.
Yes.
And you put it together.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So super exciting, and I'm just really excited. Their other half played Beyond Wonderland yesterday, and then they kind of do the whole like Slander Adventure Club thing where they can duplicate themselves and be in 2 places at one time, which is also
You're
great.
kidding me.
Yes.
So how does that work?
So like one of them will go play one event, and then one of them will be playing another event. It's quite financially smart.
So
Which is super
Crystal Skies times 2, but
Yes.
in
Yeah.
2 different spots at the same time.
2 different spots at the same time.
That's amazing. All right, that's interesting. So tell us about the tour. How's it been?
Tour's been great. This is my second date. I started last week in Seattle. Phenomenal. Seattle was amazing. I just feel like Midas has like such a, not cult following, but like a really, really dedicated following that is very engaged in like the actual music and the actual records, and you can see it in the fans, like when they like know every word and like they know mashups and they know the remixes, and like they're so like invested in it. And I feel like you don't often get that, and it's a very special crowd to play for, and it was just like such a perfect pairing with the future direction of the project, like where it is, where it's been, and like where it's going.
So you know that is amazing. So how did you get yourself involved in that though? I'm curious.
Like in the tour itself.
Yeah, in the tour itself.
So his team sent us an offer, and I've been wanting to do stuff with like, this really is like the Ophelia family for a very, very long time, and we have some more stuff like going on behind the scenes, and like we're excited for some music to be more involved on their end. And with all of that came tour offer, and I'm really excited because I feel like this crowd, I'm always kind of a white elephant in a room, and because I do a lot of different types of music and I make a lot of different genres, so I can fit in a lot of places, but I never feel like I really, quite frankly, like sit at the lunch table. But I will say, like, this is one of the nicest touring groups I've ever been part of. Like Joe's wife is so incredibly kind. Like everyone last week was so welcoming. Like I often go on tours and like you're the only female, or like maybe you're not around these guys all the time, or you don't play video games with them. It could be like a little bit weird, or like you kind of have to break the ice.
Yeah.
They like broke the ice for me, and it was just like such a lovely situation to be in.
Wow, incredible. So what's it feel like being a big role model to up and coming artists, to even young female, or to every other artist out there going up and coming that are just beginning or
Yeah, absolutely. It's super exciting because like not only is it National Women's Month, it's like there's so many, just speaking about like women in general, there's so many women that are doing this now that didn't used to do it, and I think it just like sets the pavement or like the pathway for women to really start to get on this like even playing field and ground with like such a male dominated industry. And that's for like women working on the backside of like, you know, the industry, like whether you're like a producer for podcasts, or you're an agent, or you're an A&R, or you're like an artist itself. Like there's women everywhere, and you're starting to see it more well represented on lineups, and it's just now it's up to people in positions of power to like really invest in like a woman's project and growth, not just be like a token. Like, oh, we're supporting girls just because we're throwing them on the lineup. It's like what's the actual plan to grow this project and make sure this project like is setting itself up for success and longevity.
There's definitely got to be a a very good leadership role you probably didn't expect to fall into.
Yeah. And I think the podcast helps. I think Patreon helps.
Yes,
I think like things
absolutely.
that really did come out of like such a shit time, like the pandemic,
Mhm.
are still such an important part of like the Lizzy Jane project. Like I would say like the podcast has become this very weird thing to me that is like networking and really getting to know people, but also helping educate people who are in the pathway of becoming artists themselves or becoming industry professionals or audio techs or agents or A&Rs, like how to not make certain mistakes and like learning from other people's mistakes and journeys through the podcast. And it's been incredible to like have people like Mr. Bill like came on the podcast this week, like people I've looked up to for forever being like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? I'll go on your podcast. Like, let's make it work. And they're like excited. And it's not like, oh, I'm doing you a favor. Like, I feel like I'm very much so now looked upon as like this outlet for information on just like everything music. Like whether it's like technical stuff like in the DAW or like DJ stuff or funny ultra stories or, you know, stuff like that where you can get a little bit of everything in the podcast if you're like a fan, like an aspiring artist, or like somewhere in the middle.
I love that. No, I by myself have been watching the podcast since you started it, and it's come a long way.
It
and you
has.
have such a large reach. It's incredible. That's why I wanted to sit down with you. Like, because of that, I wanted to, in a positive way, exploit your light, your reach, and I want the world to know exactly who they're messing with and who they're up against, because otherwise the world wouldn't be fair. Remember that, everybody. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so,
I love it.
yeah, no, 100%. I wanted to ask, to lead something more into like a childhood memory. What inspired you from childhood to follow music? You know, especially your band back in the day that you were talking about in the interview that I watched.
Yeah, so I've like been in music and dance my whole life. So when I was like 13, I chose which way I wanted to go. I was doing like dance 7 days a week, and I was doing like music 5 days a week.
Oh my gosh.
And that was like all I did besides go to school. And when I realized that I was a 5'9" individual and that ballet was probably not in my future, and I really loved music and I loved like creatively expressing myself, it was at that point that I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna stay in classical music. So then I started to go to like, you know, that rebellious teenage phase, like I'm gonna start a band, I'm gonna be a rocker, I'm gonna be heavy, like I'm a metalhead now. I used to look at EDM as quite frankly not real music until I opened up Ableton and Pro Tools and FL, and I said, holy shit, this is so hard. This is so difficult, and people who do this are literally like wizards. And now to be able to kind of like take the time from when I was a resident, when it was like very like, I'm playing dubstep every week, well, what am I going to start making? Dubstep, heavy metal go really well together. You look at people like Sullivan King,
Yes.
who's now on tour with Avenged
Right here,
Sevenfold.
yeah.
We played that show together in at the Navy Pier in December. We were all in the same transpo van, and I was talking to he employs like 20 people that go with him for every show. And I was talking to his team, and they were just like, yep, Avenged Sevenfold tour is up next, and they're just like, this is something that Keaton has always wanted to do, like blending the molds of like the two worlds. And then Keaton got in. Yeah, Keaton got in. He's like, I know this is gonna be hard and difficult for a lot of Avenged Sevenfold fans and like rock fans to like wrap their mind around it. And then I saw him on a podcast the other day, and he's like, it's actually crazy how well it's actually being received. And like even the Avenged Sevenfold guys are like, what the fuck? This is like the future. This is the future of like what we're doing. Because you look at things like Warped Tour, like all of those rock festivals, like they have kind of like legacy festivals now, but like that Warped Tour, like when that left, nothing came and took its place. So, and so like that's where like the dubstep and the heavy metal kind of came and evolved. But now I feel like I'm in a section of my project where EP is starting to be rolled out. Every single is a different genre. When the whole 8-track EP comes out, it's like really a conceptual story from like light to dark, from like finding myself and being who I want to be within the Lizzy Jane project. It's very exciting. And like, yeah, so it's very exciting. It's coming out on Dome of Doom. It's called Ignite. It comes out May 3rd. Wash Away, the first single, came out last month. Where You Are drops this Thursday. Drum and bass single. And then I also have a drum and bass remix coming out on Dimmock on Friday. So this is actually a really big upcoming week for music. And maybe when you hear this, it's definitely already out.
Absolutely.
And then You and Me, my third single off the EP, is coming out on April 12th. And then the whole EP drops on May 3rd. And we have some like really, really awesome like guest mix. We just did a guest mix for Insomniac. I have a guest mix for Apple and Dimlock coming out this Friday as well. And so we're like ramping everything up, and then we're gonna announce a bunch of dates, and we'll be really good.
Busy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
This one's more so from a personal experience, but so I'm wondering, have you ever hit rock bottom and didn't know what to do?
Oh my God. Yeah. Like every week. Like no, I'm just kidding.
Every week.
When we went into COVID, and after COVID, I left the residency. I didn't know. I wasn't happy making dubstep. I had gone on 2 tours, which I'm not gonna name, that were really, really hard, learning lessons for me, where I was very poorly compensated in result of being given an opportunity, which is part of it, which is 100% part of it. It's like starting a business, you have to invest to get to a point where you're making a profit. But it was something where I really saw firsthand that my voice and what I wanted to do was not going to fit in with the heavy dubstep scene. And then I had to turn around and say, what do you actually want to do with Lizzy Jane? Yes, it's always going to be bass influenced. Yes, you're always going to have your vocals. But what do you really want to do? Do you want to do feature bass? Do you want to do drum and bass? Do you want to do a hybrid? Are you going to build a live set? And then I just started making so much music. An incredible amount of demos that will never see the light of day, trying everything from tech house to break beats to UKG before UKG was blowing up, literally during COVID, hard style, more color bassy stuff. A lot of that I did release, the color, the color rhythm, pretty bass kind of stuff, and then just regular melodic dubstep, which is kind of what Millennium and Seven Lions and stuff fall into. And I really, really loved that. And then I really, really loved drum and bass. And I that's where I found myself the happiest. And then when I would go and I would play it out, I would feel that euphoria in me playing something, and I felt I really, really fit in. And I was this is it. This is it. This is what you're gonna commit to, because you do have to have a vision in your project, and you can't be Madonna and you can't say I'm gonna release this album. I think probably when I release my first album, am I gonna wipe my whole page and do something super crazy like David Bowie? 100%. But you can reinvent yourself, but you have to be able to target a demographic. And just coming out of certain life experiences, I was you can either do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, which is literally the definition of insanity, or you can try something else. And I tried something else, and now 2-3 years down the road, I'm really, really happy where I was at. But even as far as last year, I still receive offers to play with absolute dons like Precision, which he has such a wonderful team and he is such a wonderful individual. But at the same time, I had to go up there and do my own thing. I can't go up there and be a resident DJ. I have to go and play my own music. I have to go and do that. That's the only way that my fan base and my crowd will actually know who I'm becoming in the project. Yeah.
This is Lizzy Jane.
Yeah.
This isn't just another.
So we're up now.
Yeah.
We're up now. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I love it.
I appreciate you talking to me today.
No, I appreciate you taking the time to getting us in here and offering to sit with me. It really means a lot to me.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Let's do
Do
it.
you have anything for the fans back at home or anybody else around the world?
EP, May 3rd. First Lizzy Jane EP. Let's fucking go.
Let's do it.
Cheers to the making. Super excited. Bye.
See ya. Love you guys.
Okay. Sweet.
Perfect.
All right, cool. That was lovely.
It was
All right.
awesome.